Hello, this is your video for 7.2 activity. To do this activity, we need to know two things. First of all, you need to know what complementary angles are. Complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Now, 90 degrees is a right angle, so if you've got one angle that's 50 degrees and another angle that's 40 degrees, those two add up to 90, so they would be complementary. Complementary angles, to be 90 is a right angle, so you can remember it's right to give a complement. The other thing you need to know is supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are two angles that add up to 180 degrees, which is a straight line. A lot of times you'll see supplementary angles drawn as a straight line, so you have these two angles and added together. They are a straight line or 180 degrees. So remember, supplementary starts with an S, and a straight line starts with an S. So now turn to your activity. The first page says, work with a partner, but you need to work on your own. Complete each sentence with either always, sometimes, or never. So let's look at the first one. If X and Y are complementary angles, then both X and Y are either sometimes, always, or never acute. Well, let's think about that. Here are two complementary angles. Could either of these angles, we'll call them 1 and 2, could either of those ever be anything bigger than an acute angle? Remember, acute is less than 90 degrees. What do you think? Write down your answer. Now let's check it. You should have said they're always acute. Both of them are always less than 90 because together they add up to 90. Letter B, if X and Y are supplementary angles, then X is sometimes, always, or never acute. Supplementary means it adds up to a straight line. So here's an example. X is an angle either on one side of this. Could either side of this ever be anything other than acute? Write down your answer. You should have said sometimes. It's sometimes acute. The smaller angle is acute, but the larger angle would be obtuse. Letter C, if X is a right angle, then X is sometimes, always, or never acute. Okay, a right angle is 90 degrees, so it can never be acute. Letter D, if X and Y are complementary angles, complementary means they add up to 90, then X and Y are sometimes, always, or never adjacent. Adjacent means next to each other. You have two angles that are next to each other that also add up to 90 degrees. Sometimes they might not be next to each other. And E, if X and Y are supplementary, remember supplementary is a straight line, then X and Y are sometimes, always, or never vertical. Vertical means across from each other. So here's an example, X and Y. Could they add up to 180 degrees and be right across from each other? Sometimes they could. In this picture, they could. If they're all 90-degree angles, they will. That would be the only case. Okay, let's look at the next part of your activity. You've got some pictures of clocks. It says tell whether the two angles on the clock are complementary, supplementary, or neither. So let's look at A. You've got 2 o'clock, which is a 60-degree angle, and you've got 8 o'clock, which is a 120-degree angle. Would those be complementary, supplementary, or neither? Write down your answer. You should have said they are supplementary. Letter B. Here on the first clock, that degree is 45 degrees, and the other degree is also 45 degrees. So would those be complementary, supplementary, or neither? What do they add up to? You should have said they are complementary because they add up to 90 degrees. Let's look at letter C. Letter C, we've got 180 degrees as a straight line and 90 degrees for a right angle. Would that be supplementary, complementary, or neither? And you should have said neither because they add up to not 180 or 90. And D, we've got two angles that are both 90-degree angles. Is that complementary, supplementary, or neither? And you should have said it's supplementary because it adds up to 180 degrees. Okay, so that was a quick introduction to complementary and supplementary. You can turn this in and go ahead and do your activity for your notes.